you are in a building, and the building looks very Bauhausy. It's a white, squarey building that you have been assigned to by a person that is serving the satraps. And I assume, I'm not 100% sure, you have to agree to this, that you will stay for some time, for at least a week. Is that agreeable? I don't know, Puckett, Chris?
We needed to stay for at least a week because of medical treatments and such anyway.
Yes, buying, as I said, provisions. You also, Nida promised Ajax some kind of luxury, I remember.
Meat of some sort, fish if available. Like actual meat, not meat that he has to chew off of something he just killed.
So let's begin the session then inside of this very austere building. The whole building is for you. It's more or less one gigantic room. Maybe there's like a staircase inside, and another platform where there are some beds. And from one of the huge windows, the ultraviolet glow of the early day shines through and illuminates the room, but also puts it into some kind of violet twilight. There are candles. I think the first person we see is Vigo Brastec, one of your hirelings, who is kneeling in front of the fireplace. It has gotten pretty cold in the last couple of days, at night at least. During the day it's still very warm, and he's making coffee. And I think what do you think, who would wake up first? I would assume maybe Nida, because Ajax is stirring.
You're presuming I slept.
Or who is awake at this point?
Nida doesn't sleep, she waits. But, she's definitely up, probably tinkering with weapons, just cleaning, making sure everything is good to go, waiting for the satrap in charge of things to come back and tell her when she can get that shard out of her eye and when she can get the puncture wounds on her neck looked at.
And Vigo turns around and he says, do you want a coffee?
Vigo, how long have we been traveling together?
A long time, months and months.
And you still have to ask me that question? I want a coffee.
He walks over, and when he walks over, we see like a tall, lithe man with dark eyes. We can hear the chains rattling. He has chains wound all around his body, and he passes you a cup. The smell of coffee is actually, wafting through the room. Who's the next who wakes up?
Saffron probably smells it with their enhanced cybernetic prairie dog nose.
So talking about being a cybernetic prairie dog, Chris, can you describe Saffron? How do they look like?
Well, right now Saffron is kind of completely wrapped up in their kind of oversized cloak, sleeping the night. But as Saffron kind of stirs, I extend my extensible arms and legs a little bit, and I start filling out the cloak and kind of stand up, and you can see my two brains in their glass enclosures on top of my head and my little prairie dog snout.
And Vigo returns to the fireplace, pours another coffee, and walks over to. Does Saffron drink coffee?
Yeah, not frequently, but if someone was making some, I'd be like, oh, sure.
Brennan, can you describe Kuzui? Would Kuzui wake up, or do we see her sleeping still?
Kuzui sleeps, although she sleeps as often enough with her. When the stars or the near moon is in view, she'll sometimes sleep with her eyes open in contemplation of it. But she's asleep, and it takes a little bit to rouse. She can't deny the streak of being awake all the time.
And Vigo is very. I think he's actually scared of Kuzui a little bit, so he wouldn't approach you anyways. But can you describe how Kuzui looks like?
Yes, Kuzui is. She could be anything from young to middle age. It's hard to tell because she's covered up in flowing robes. Her face is tattooed, and she's a mountain elf. So how old do they get, really, before they start to show signs of age? Is hard to say.
Mm-hmm.
She is, to those people who know those things, she is clearly a shaman. She has multiple fetishes made of bone and wood that are stitched into her clothing and worn around her neck, on her wrists, in her hair. She sometimes talks to something that isn't there if you can't see spirits. She has prominent on her belt is a pink bottle, which has in it a spirit that sings. That is her fetch, which is not a separate entity, but is part of her soul. And that is how she interacts with the unseen world. That's a pretty good start.
Mm-hmm, thank you. I think Vigo actually does pour a coffee for Kuzui and places it next to her head without looking at her. And our fourth member of the caravan is, I want to say, Naketh. Alex, can you describe him? I think you're muted, Alex, if you're trying to say something.
Yeah, sorry, I'm I'm still in the character creation process, and I'm going through lots of different screens and trying to find the screen where I can unmute myself.
No worries.
Naketh is a diesel dwarf, and their people genetically are quite diverse because they were kind of pasted together from lots of different races in the same way of the Dungeons and Dragons mongrel men race.
Mm-hmm.
But most of them have large bat-like ears, and they also have aspects of hyenas about them and humans. So they're quite short, which is why they're called dwarves. And he will often, their skin is covered in a light fur, that is kind of mottled and patchy.
Hmm.
And in terms of how people see them, is generally the lowest of the low outcasts, because they're very good mechanically minded. They can't. They can't. They're no good with electronics, but mechanical things they're very adept with. And
And we know that Kath is wearing a holy symbol. I'm not sure if it's a spork, but it's definitely some kind of plastic cutlery.
no, it has to be a spork.
Of course.
Yeah, and he wears it around his neck, but he's very private about it.
Mhm.
And his face is very flattened, although it does have a slight hint of a snout from the from his hyena background.
Mhm. And so I think Vigo is approaching you as well, Kath, and puts down the coffee. And he probably is not sensitive enough to not say something about it. It's very black and strong, but you wouldn't probably mind, do you?
Yeah, it's fine.
And
I kind of see the diesel dwarves as being kind of a mix also of like the gutter dwarves from Dragonlance and Jawas also.
all right. And so, yeah, the four of you, with Kozui maybe still lying down, but so you're in this Bauhaus style big room, and all of you will realize that from there's also Austin's the scope, which is another member of the Legion of the Far Side. But maybe especially Nida and Saffron will probably realize that Umberto is missing. So what do you do? What you could do is we don't have to play this, step by step. But in general, what are your plans for the day and for the following days?
I mean, the big issue I think at hand, or two of them, are the puncture holes and the kind of like wasting disease that Nida and I guess at the same time Azure, although Azure is off screen right now.
Mm-hmm.
And then Nida, you have the shard of something through one of
Light.
Hard light. Yeah.
That's slightly unpleasant. And we should probably figure that out while we're here.
Yeah, I'd prefer not to have a shard of jagged hard light sticking out of my eyeball any longer than I need to.
Understandable.
With your regular wounds, I could be of some help. I'm not sure about the piece in your eye.
Well, none of the wounds are regular. That's the problem.
Even poisoned or diseased ones are not entirely out of my skill. So it depends.
Now I'm worried about where Umberto is. I mean, I'm sure he's off being the best somewhere, but he thinks he's the best, and so far he has not been entirely wrong, but I still fear for that one hit point of his.
Also, just to interrupt you shortly, Saffron, you have, I think, a project that you are following, trying to learn things.
Yeah.
then Kuzue and Nakath, you both could inquire about your tasks.
Yes.
Maybe I could describe, like, if you look outside of the window, you can also see a little bit of the Spectrum Palace, so that you have a couple of places that you could go. So if you look outside to the east, you can see the two hills, and between the hills there is this drum-shaped metal building, but it is somehow obscured. It is obscured by walls of rainbow light. And there are other like interesting, architecturally interesting buildings around you from different eras. And between these buildings and the Spectrum Palace itself, there are a couple of caravans. One caravan is, it looks like a theater company with a very, very tall, wagon that is drawn by some strange beasts. There is a caravan. There are different caravans that you can approach if you want to. And then on the other side of the building, there's a building. It seems to be made from paper. It looks like some kind of religious building, maybe a monastery of some sorts. And then on the two hills, you can see one hill has some kind of antennae sticking out of them, and the other hill is covered in a glass plate. So I don't know, Saffron, what would you like to do?
I think I would probably push to help find, like, go around and try to find someone who can work on the mechanical parasite piercings of Nida and Azure.
Yes,
Just
so you
that feels the most urgent.
would, you would accompany Nida.
Yeah.
And Kuzue, what would you like to do?
I mean, maybe we do have Kozue take a look at it first, just to see if she has suggestions, but
Happy to do that.
Yeah.
It was kind of outside we'd kind of previously determined that it was outside normal medical care.
Well, we do know that Kuzue is a healer of some.
Yeah, and I guess, Kozue, you have some connections to Vomes and stuff like that with your fetch. So,
A little bit, yes.
A little bit. So maybe there is something there that you could help get us at least in the right direction on it.
I'm happy to look at it.
Okay, so Kuzue is taking care of Nida, and what is Nakath doing?
Well, if it's okay with you, Nakath can have lived here for a while, which is why he's here when they arrive. But he obviously is always looking for the vile creatures, and he's pretty sure that there are none around here, and is looking to depart. And if it's okay with you, I'd also, you said I can only get 100 coins to begin with, but I would be interested in getting the mechanics chest, I think it's called.
Oh, definitely. You could also, like, that is just a suggestion from my side. You can always say no. You could have been part of the caravan for a long time, and you can be friends with all the other characters, or at least you could know them for a long time. It's up to you. You could be completely new to the caravan, or you could have been part of it from the beginning, or you could have joined.
Quick question, Horst.
Yes.
I thought we started with 200 coins.
Yes, 200 coins. I think I don't know what Alex bought for.
So far, just a weapon and armor.
Oh, okay. So,
But
I think
I don't have the money for the mechanics chest.
If you have been with the caravan for a while, most of us who have been with it for a while have accepted payout, if you will, from certain things that have occurred. So
it's called creative accounting, I think.
I forget how we called it, but we certainly didn't refer to it as anything as gauche's embezzlement. I think that we referred to it as combat pay or something along those lines, or hazard pay. So, Horst, if you're okay with it, and this can come out of my personal money or it can come out of caravan money, but I'm okay.
Yeah, so the caravan has made shitloads of money. You are employed by the Cockflower Church, who have given you like a credit upfront, but you have made, I don't know, 50,000 credits along the way. So yeah, money is not really a problem.
Okay, if it's okay with you, I'd like to say that he is new to the group, though.
Okay, cool.
Just it'll make the role playing a little bit more natural since I am literally new to the group.
Nice. And so, have you approached the group because you want to travel safely to the Black City?
Yes. Yeah, I've offered my services as a mechanic to the caravan, and we can just say that it's I've been accepted. I'm just still new to the group.
Yeah, and then there are these auto wagons, and they all are in dire need of repairs. There's also the porcelain walker, which is like an 8080. And it also has like the windshield is missing, and there are definitely mechanical parts that are in need of repair.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Cool. All right. So Kazue and Naida, maybe we have the scene first. How does Kazue try to find out what's wrong with her?
Well, Naida permitting, I'd like to take out an incense plate and some incense called white thrush, which comes from a dried fungus. And when I light it, it produces a rather unusual amount of smoke, and it evokes a sort of musty, earthy scent. And after we've had a few breaths of it, and it tingles a little bit, I'm going to take out my fetch, and I'm going to send it into the major injuries that Naida has.
Is Naida okay with this, or is she reluctant or even hostile?
I pause at every point, and if Naida is resistant, I will stop. I'll explain what I'm doing before I do anything.
I don't think Night is any more irritated than normal.
Which is pretty irritated most of the time.
Okay. I'm going to have my fetch look into your wounds now.
So there are 2 punctures at her neck, puncture wounds at her neck, and what you see through the eyes of your fetch is that they looked as if they are perfectly drilled, like perfectly drilled by a diamond drill or something. There's it's a perfect circumference, if that is the word, perfect circle. And they look unnatural to you. It's not something a creature with its fangs, for example, would cause.
It's machinery.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
So do you send the fetch inside?
I do. Yes, because I'm concerned that it may have put in poison or illness.
So we probably see the fetch entering through these holes, and when it gets deeper inside of the body, you can see that the whatever caused the holes left. I don't know if you remember this, but it almost looks like tiny flash drives. They're tiny like mustard seeds, but through the vision of the fetch, you can see that it has some kind of complex structure to it.
Yes, so the stuff, the weapon left behind a piece of it that may be growing.
Mm-hmm.
They're tiny. But I can try to get them out.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure that I can trust my fingers to do this.
No, I mean your fingers are unable to. These puncture wounds are tiny as well.
I understand that, but I mean even with an implement, it'd be very difficult.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I think I have something that can do it. I'm going to take out the small lacquered box that I have and open it up and say a few words, and a spider-like thing uncoils itself from it. It's made of wire.
Ajax comes over and hisses at the spider and gets closer to Nida as if asking if this is okay.
If it kills me, you get my stuff.
I know, but do I get food every day? Can I shout at someone every day?
Yell at her. And I think it goes away.
Fair enough.
So every time Ajax and Nida communicate, it's it's only in their minds, and you hear Ajax a voice in your mind, Nida, and he says, "She's scary."
And I'm not? Geez,
no.
You're insulting me now? After all we've been through.
Nida, you're just you are violent, and I can deal violent. She's just creepy.
Well, if it comes down to it, use your tail darts.
And yeah, Ajax sits by Nida's side, and you know when cats are slightly irritated, their tail are twitching, and his tail is twitching at the moment.
Is it twitching or is it actively flipping?
It's flipping.
Okay. So,
I won't make any sudden moves.
Murderous cat, no pressure.
Yes. The star metal elemental, because that's what it is, puts forth a finger that elongates impossibly into this wire that's, a few hairs breadths thick, and starts to probe it into one of the worlds. Slowly. I'm going to guide it with my fetch sight to see if it can get hold of these seeds and pull them out.
Yes, and we can see these tendrils or like wiry, protrusions. And they should be the size, they should be like precise enough to pick up these tiny things. But I do think that you're performing a miracle.
I think so. Well, because it certainly requires a ferocious effort on my part to control this elemental so precisely.
So what you have to do is, I think we have already established that you summoned the star metal creature.
Yes, I had done that before.
And we can see that it can, for example, dig, which is what it does. So it can perform the simple task. I want to say at the moment it will cost you a certain amount of the, let's say, 5 stones of the star metal to, which is half a sack, to summon the elemental. And I want to say it's D6 HP at the moment. But you can try to reduce the cost by increase the time you do it. Maybe you have.
Since the D6 might kill me,
it's
probably good if I take a little extra time.
Extra time, you could, use extra material, maybe the rest of the star metal to somehow confine the summoned elemental.
If Naida's not in a hurry, I'd rather take the time.
Yes. Okay. And
I want to make sure to do this properly.
One quick question.
Yes.
Since Azure needs the same thing, is this something that we can do while Azure is off camera, or will we need to do this when Abe is back in the group next month?
I think we can do it as if Azure is also there.
Okay.
And it will happen just off camera.
Okay.
Let's say for the whole, if it takes the whole day, I want to say it's a D3, and half a day would be D6 minus 2.
We're spending at least a week here, aren't we? To figure out trade goods and everything.
Yes, that is true. So time is not really of the essence, unless there's something wrong with
D6 minus 2 is fine.
Yes. All right. So
it's 3.
It's a 3.
So that costs me 3.
So describe how you pick out these tiny objects, and then how does the strain affect Kazooie?
So Kazui is resting both hands on the framework of the elemental, and her eyes have gone glassy. She is clearly looking at something else other than what's straight in front of her. And the elemental makes these tiny probing moves. She's at a certain point, she's the elemental flags a little bit, and she takes a deep sighing breath and breathes it out onto the figure, and it kind of reanimates it. The process takes a very long time, but after hours, where Kazui has sweated through her robe, she pulls out a tiny metal object and puts it in Ida's palm. And then she'll slowly get the other one out.
And Nida, when you see this tiny object, it has, you have to really look closely, but it has 6 tiny legs, and it has also some limbs at the front, some kind of almost like mandibles. But it is clearly some kind of robotic parasite.
Is it moving?
It is.
I'm sure we've got some sort of glass bottle or something like that around somewhere.
It could be part of some of the packs.
Like oil from a lamp.
Yeah, well, yes.
Yeah, so I'll just like dump it into an empty oil bottle and cork it, or put a stopper in it, just to. We can figure out what it is later.
All
Maybe
right.
Nicholas knows something about it.
And how was the procedure for Nida? Was it more like boring? Was it exhausting? Was it scary?
You say that like boredom isn't exhausting. I mean, I kind of just sat there. And it's like, okay, great. I've had tattoos that took less time. Drumming her fingers, watching Ajax flip his tail. Ajax probably curled up and laid down at some point and just dozed off in that way that cats doze when they want you to know that they're still watching every single thing that you're doing. And if you make a move, they're liable to jump up and be startled or be ready for defense or whatever, but also because there might be food.
Yes.
So as I get the parasites out, blood wells up and the cuts on Nida's neck, and I bandage it.
So I
think it's clear.
Go ahead.
I'm done. Thank you.
Oh. I was just going to ask, so we have 4 of these things now? Or how many do we have?
Yeah, it was more than 4. It was, let's say it was half a dozen.
Okay. Is that for both Azure and I, or just for me?
It's just for you.
Okay.
We deal with Azure's things when she's back. The day progressed, and this, as you all know, the violet light recedes at some point, normally around noon. So maybe we have seen some kind of montage or some kind of acceleration of time where the all of a sudden the sun breaks through this violet glow. In the meantime, the Keth, did you stay to watch? Did you go to visit the palace or the caravans?
I'm going to visit the palace one more time before I leave.
Which building is the palace?
What was that?
Which building is the palace?
There is these two hills. There's in between the hills is this drum-shaped metal building, and that is the palace, the crystal, the Spectrum Palace. Yeah, and Kath, you have visited the Spectrum Palace before, and you do know that you see a stream of people coming and going from the palace, and they all maneuver through this walls of rainbow light, and you do know that without a guide, you will be completely lost. So you probably, I don't know, how do you tackle the problem?
I've made an acquaintance in the palace, and I've been talking to her about the vials, and she was going to get back to me about some information about the possible location of one of these creatures.
Nice.
And I'm going to check on her because I have not heard from her in a while. And she's lived here, most of her life. And she works in the palace, or she lives in the palace. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
But
so let's give her a name. She's called Celesta. Put it in the chat, Celesta. And she is an ecstatic. So the ecstatics are servants of the satraps, and she's friendly in everything, but she's also a bit weird. So as all the ecstatics, she's constantly smiling. She's always like happy and friendly, which is not a bad thing in itself. It's just it comes over as almost as if she's like possessed with something. And so when you approach the rainbow wall, she actually stands there. Maybe you haven't had an appointment, and she extends her hands. And Alex, can you describe her robe? All the ecstatics have the same robe. So what we know about the satraps is that they're creatures of light, and that light plays an important role in their religion.
Okay, so they are broken down through the colors of the spectrum, and so each role has a different color of the Roy G. Biv spectrum, and she is indigo.
Okay, cool. And so she, when you approach her, she smiles, puts her hands together and bows and says, "Kath, I have good news."
Oh yes,
about the vials.
I have good news as well. Who wants to go first?
I'm always open for good news, so why don't you tell me what happened good in your life?
I was hired by a caravan So I will be leaving soon, so this is probably the last time I will see you.
But that is not good news. Why do you leave this beautiful place?
My destination is not here, as you know. It is always in search. And my search here is over, but perhaps somewhere else may be more fruitful.
I hoped so much that you would maybe see the light and stay in the palace forever.
No.
Well, but the good thing I heard. So about your quest, I mean, I don't know if there's any vial in the vicinity, but I asked around, and there is a lonely lodge on the Ivory Plains, and they say that whatever you wish to know, when you go into the lodge and you sleep, the information will come in your sleep.
And where is this lonely lodge?
Well, that I don't know. I only know it's on the Ivory Plains. And you do have a map, Kev. And so
Yes, of course.
it is to the west. It is a 2 weeks journey.
Thank you very much for this information. I am in your debt.
Well, promise me, Kev, that you will come back after you performed your task, and maybe you will find peace here.
Oh, yes, I'm sure I will. This is quite obviously a lie.
And when she
Nakath assumes that he will die in the process of trying to complete his quest. So he doesn't share that with people.
Mm-hmm. But still, you can see that when she turns away, that her smile falters for a split second. All right. Anything else? Do you want to actually go inside the palace? She could lead you there. You have a cat on your shoulders.
Yeah, she's eating my hair.
Do you want to go inside the palace, or are you okay with just the information?
I came to see her, so if that's all the information she has for me, then
Yes.
then I will thank her and depart.
Yes. And last but not least, Saffron, your main concern was with NIDA and Azure. Do you want to do something else, or have you watched the process?
I think while I'm here, I would also want to kind of go about do the meander around and talk to people and try to hear more if people have snippets of details about machine humans or soul transfer stuff. I think that's particularly because of the presence of all the satraps here. There might be something useful to learn about soul transfer.
Would you? So you're asking around, obviously. Would you go to the ecstatics or to the satraps themselves, or would you rather go to the other caravans, the other travelers?
Probably the satraps. We had some thread some like a potential thread to pull around Satrat
Yes.
88's crystal snail and stuff.
Yes. So NIDA gave one of the ecstatics, Satrap 88's crystal snail, and they said that they will return the snail after the information was stored somewhere in the palace. So you could follow up on that. You could just go, because the snail has not returned yet.
Yeah. I mean, we only have so much time here, so maybe I could almost imagine it like, okay, the clock's ticking. We're planning to leave at the end of the week. Still don't have the snail back.
Yes. Okay, so
you could kind of be a 2-for-1 of get to talk to them about body transfers and stuff.
Nice.
And also try to get the snail back.
So maybe to make it easier for you to enter the palace, maybe you accompanied Kath to the Rainbow Wall, and when Celesta turns around to go back to the palace, maybe you can join her.
Sure.
So the rainbow walls themselves are a series of, it's almost like a maze. It has this intense glow of all the colors of the rainbow, obviously. And it is some kind of iridescent energy that comes from that. And it really, like you are like your senses, like at least the visual senses, are overwhelmed by the radiation.
I think I kind of hone in my smell and hearing to try to like memorize the path that we're taking and stuff.
Nice.
And like kind of I like squint my eyes a little bit, and I'm like, okay, this is super weird and a little overwhelming, and I'll rely on my prairie dog senses.
Mm-hmm. When you leave the walls of the Rainbow Wall, and enter the palace proper, the building opens into a big hall, a great chamber within the palace, and it is called the Hall of the Welcoming Eye. And we know that the eye gazes upon visitors who are willing to open their minds to whatever entity resides there. What do we see? What represents the eye? Is it like a literal eye? Is it like a fresco or something?
I think there is like in the center on like a little raised platform, just this giant shard of light. Like it's like a big, way more complicated version of the thing that is in Nida's eye.
Nice.
But like on its own, standalone, and you can kind of feel its presence. Like it is an entity on its own. And
Celesta, her eyes light up when you both enter the hall, and there are other ecstatics, but there are also other visitors. Most of them stand there and bathe in the light of the shard, but some people, they stand around the shard in these circles. but some of them just pass them around and go deeper into the palace. And do you stay here or do you go further?
I mean,
Like you,
yeah, it's
so
probably I can talk to people here and get some feeling about like where do I need to go further in? Who has the crystal snail?
yes. So your main goal is obviously to get the snail back, and so Celeste. What's her name? It's not Celeste. Celesta will take you deeper into the palace, and I think which one was it? I think it was Satrap. Neither of a pocket. Have you written down which satrap was supposed to have the snail?
Good question. Let me scroll up.
If it's not written down,
I just had to give it to Spectrum Palace. I
think it was 350, but I'm not sure.
Humanoid rainbow. It doesn't say that we met a satrap.
No,
it just
you met this the
ecstatic
that took the snail, and she said something about taking it to, and then the name. But if it's not written down, it's still open, let's say.
Yeah.
And Celesta, and you know, Saffron, that it was brought to Satrap 75.
Okay.
And so Celesta takes you deeper into the palace. You are passing the Hall of Memories deep in the palace. You're going further through the crystal fungal fields, and there is a and you've seen satraps before, but this one is really strange. It stands there. It has green, like the suit itself has these green spidery limbs and spindly hoses, and all these, like, obviously several limbs, and these limbs they all pluck some kind of crystals from modified trees. They're harvesting some kind of crystalline fruits. Celeste approaches them, and there's a whispered conversation, and then the satrap turns around and turns to you. Ah, yes. The crystal snail. So many memories. And they hand over the crystal snail, but they are all gone now. I don't know what you want with this.
We've had a complicated past with it, myself in particular.
Yes, I know. We found traces of others inside the snail.
I shared it with the remains of Satrap 88 for quite a while.
Well, we found more. We found a rather hostile entity in there.
What do you mean?
Johnny, I think.
So he wasn't. He didn't appreciate you poking around.
What is left of him? Well, you know, a crystal is. It is like a. It is like a labyrinth. and some memories just get lost in there. Well, if you ever think about what to do with your life, Saffron, and they say your name as if you have introduced yourself. There are ways to leave a mark on the lands. There are ways to endure. And these ways are inside of you. They are not outside in the world.
What do you mean inside of me?
Well, you should know that your body is nothing. Your body is just a shell.
Agreed. I've grown fond of this particular shell, but having jumped around a bit, I understand.
You do understand. And, well, your soul, if you will, can become immortal if you follow our teachings. Do you want to follow our teachings?
I mean, my soul isn't the one I'm concerned about.
Well, you should be. But please elaborate.
I don't know how much you satraps know about the history of machine humans.
We have been around. We were the first and we will be the last.
But there is someone else very important to me that I'm working to bring back. Important to many machine humans.
I think I might be able to help you, but I'm not sure if, it's like, I feel like a mother, and he looks, well, you can't see their eyes, obviously, but it's as if they face you, like straight. And they say, it's like a mother that gives her children everything they want.
I kind of just raise a prairie dog eyebrow.
And then if you want to, they will start teaching you about certain procedures. Do you want to ask them something?
I think I'm like, I think I just kind of humbly like bow a little bit, and I'm like, anything you can teach me would be very appreciated.
And so I think for the rest of the week that you stay there, you will visit Setup 75, and you will have it's a lot of sometimes it's just stories that they tell, and sometimes it's more like useful information about soul transfer. In the Ultraviolet Grasslands, when you stay at a place, you always stay for a week. And we obviously don't play the whole week. you tell me what you want to do beside what we already established. So you can always look for locations in the vicinity. You can find work if you want to. You could do market research, finding out about prices of goods in other destinations. You could, have like a long-term project, just as Saffron did. And by the way, you can tick another tick in your clock. Or you just stay there and relax and travel on. So what do you want to do?
I still need to deal with that shard in my eye.
Oh, that is true. That is true. So I think we can safely assume that after you were healed by Kozue, probably the rest of the day you didn't do much, and then Saffron returned from the palace, and she could have they could have asked about healers. At the palace themselves, they will tell you that they don't heal the body, they heal the soul. They will also tell you that why would you get rid of a shard of light in your eye? That's the best thing that could ever happen to anyone. So what do you do?
I mean, Nida just wants to like move it a couple inches. It's not the shard. It's the occlusion.
Is it physically visible?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
It is physically visible. It's sticking out of the eye.
It looks like a
shard of
crystal.
glass. Yeah.
Is this something that I've seen before?
Probably. I mean, if you said that you have been at the palace for some time, and I think there was another traveler who traveled through the area called the Refracting Trees, and that is a pretty common. Well, it's not pretty common, but it happens from time to time. So you definitely have seen some other person with a shard of light sticking out of their eye.
And in the past, what have those people done? Have they left it in, or?
Yes, but they were not snipers, as Nida is.
For most people, it isn't a bad thing. For me, it means I'm rolling it with disadvantage until I do something about this thing. If I keep this thing, I am no longer a sniper. I am basically no longer a scope, and the purpose of my life is unknown to me.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do? The people in the palace don't seem to be willing or able to help you.
I guess I'm going to start asking around. Niketh, have you actually joined the caravan at this point? Are you part of it?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Did you maybe mention something to me about this?
About the
shard?
Yeah. I have seen this, but what have when people in the past have had this, have I seen or heard about how they get rid of it?
As I said, the one traveler that you have seen seemed to have taken it as a gift almost.
Okay.
And the reason why they take it as a gift is it allows you to see different frequencies, so you can look behind visual illusions, for example, optical illusions.
You can see ultras, that sort of thing. Are there anything like cybernetic eyes in the game?
Yes. I do remember that you, in the first ever session, Ajax fought a
rat.
A rat with a cybernetic eye.
Hold on, did we sell that?
Yes, obviously.
Damn it.
At that time, you were poor.
Yeah, that was when we needed money.
So when you, sorry, you were asking around in the, among the caravans, I think, and so the caravans that there are is there's this half-elf theater company. There are some Vohm hunters from the Greenlands, and there are Black City priests that are obviously they seem to be about to leave. Who of these would you ask?
Obviously, the one that's about to leave. The other two will be around for a minute or so.
Mm-hmm. So, Black City priests, Puckett, what about them says that they value the chaos of possibilities above, the simplicity of order? Like visually in their attire.
It's actually, when you think of priests, you think of a religious order. Mm-hmm. You think of similar vestments and that sort of thing. And their vestments, such as they are absolutely nothing alike. You can mm-hmm. sort of tell that they are affiliated, but you, for example, have one priest who's dressed up like what we would consider a crust punk. They all have different hairstyles. They all wear different colored clothes. And it's not like the robes that Rainbow Landers wear to illustrate their affinity or their clan. It's that they're basically wearing the equivalent of crazy quilts, where it's almost as if they like stitched fabric into
nice
like
so like
long strips and then cut the strips apart and then put those strips back together in different ways.
Nice. Cool. I like it. Let's see, what is their deal? Yeah, they have these golden chariots, and they are drawn by some kind of it looks like birds, like ostriches. Is that a word? And so they have put the ostriches in front of the chariots and are about to leave. So what do you say?
Excuse me. You're travelers, so you've seen things. Do you happen to know how to remove this? And I point to the shard in my eye.
Mm-hmm. Well, we don't. But I've heard. Have you heard about the neon ziggurat?
Neon ziggurat? No, this is news to me.
It is around here somewhere. He points behind somewhere in the general direction or north, I would say, behind the two hills. It is said that there are great mystics living there, and they have what to say, perfected the art of body modifications.
You know what kind of technology they have?
I think I've heard it is some kind of sun-powered machine.
Powered machines. I see. And I'm curious, do you know if they have anything like cybernetic eyes or if they can repair eyes?
I've heard they can produce eyes.
Well, that certainly works. And last question, just because you've been so helpful. Do you have anything to trade?
Let's see. Roll a d30 for me, please.
All right, XDY, 1d30. That is a 14.
We do. Well, we bought Livingstone bricks for the Black City, but if you have something to trade for it.
So what are these Livingstone bricks worth and what do they do?
Livingstone bricks are used for petromancy. You can grow these stones in every kind of shape. They are made to make buildings that have the weirdest shapes that you can imagine. And they trade for 200.
Petromancy, that is the magic of my people.
He looks you over.
He says petrolmancy, by the way.
Okay. No, it's petromancy.
Never mind. Sorry.
I know something of that.
And they trade for 200 a sack, you said.
Yes.
Okay. Can I make a roll real quick just to make sure that these things are not illegal anywhere?
Yeah, you can make a wisdom check to see if you have heard anything.
Okay. That is 2d20 because wisdom is one of my marked stats. Okay, so all I need to do is roll under 10. No problem. I did not.
You made it?
I got 18 and 20.
So it would surprise you because it's building blocks. It could be that there's some kind of general taboo on, I don't know, changing materials, but I mean, it's not considered a drug, for example, obviously.
Right.
So you don't know for sure. Yes. You would be surprised if it is completely illegal.
How many sacks do they have to trade?
They have, I need to roll. They have 3 sacks to trade.
3 sacks. All right. You know what? I'll just straight up buy those from them.
Okay.
And put that in caravan. So there are living bricks.
Livingstone bricks.
Livingstone.
Or Livingston, maybe.
Dr. Livingston, I presume.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, and then they. The one you were talking to, an older guy, turns back. Do you plan to go to the Black City by any?
That's our intended destination.
He looks you up and down. Well, good luck.
Why do you say that?
You've not heard about the toxic dust.
I haven't. What's going on?
Well, the way you are dressed at the moment, I don't think you will make it past the pre-city.
What kind of toxic dust is this? What do we need to protect ourselves?
I don't know. I mean, it eats you alive, and you should wear, I don't know, protective gear maybe.
Of course, it's always something, isn't it?
Always something. But it's the, it's the end of the world. What have you expected?
The world's always ending somewhere.
There's just one city like the Black City, place of endless possibilities. That is, if you are able to enter. And then he, I don't know, moves the reins, whatever it's called, and the procession of these chariots leaves the palace. All right.
Really quick, did we find meat for Ajax?
Did you find wheat for Ajax?
Meat.
Oh, meat, definitely.
Okay,
so I think
Ajax is satisfied now?
Ajax is satisfied. He's not leaving the house. Or if he leaves the house, he just sits on the roof when the sun comes out, is sleeping a lot, and you have the idea that his fur is getting a bit more shiny and healthy looking again.
Good. Is there anything that we can pick up that will allow us to transport food, like fresh meat, and keep it cold as opposed to dried rations and that sort of thing?
I don't know. It's probably a task if you would. Kath, do you know of some kind of way of cooling things down?
There depends on what it is to cool down.
Meat.
Oh, I could probably jury rig something from my supplies to do that, but it would only last for. I can only cool a small amount for a short time.
Define small and short.
Size of pig, smaller, and maybe 1 day.
That doesn't seem like a particularly great use of resources. Okay.
So it works for my people.
Yeah. It would be one thing if we were coming back this way and it was just keeping fish in it for a day or so, but I don't know if we're coming back here as I look around.
No, this is terrible place.
Every place is terrible, Niketh. That's why we exist.
Not the Honeylands.
I want to talk more about this, but let's do that when we're on the road. And if we've taken care of everything we needed to take care of here, we've resupplied. Azure and I are healed up.
I would briefly like to talk, perhaps to the people at the monastery, to find out if anyone knows anything about my dreams.
Yes. So the monastery is described as the blue paper abbey, and when you approach it, you can see that it's not actually made of paper. It just appears to be. It's made from limestone, it is here described as an ancient structure of prim pastel living stone. And during your stay, you have seen some of the servitors of the satraps that are not human. They are 5-armed. You would assume they're golems, and they seem to be the monks living there. But when you enter the Blue Paper Abbey, you can see a satrap who. Brandon, can you tell me what do you think was the original function of the building? It was not a monastery to begin with.
It was a library.
Mm-hmm. And
maybe for records, as much as for books.
Nice. So maybe you have rows of microfiche and maybe others like media, but you also have the old shelves. Now, well, some of the old media is still there. And you see one satrap sitting sitting in front of a game board of some kind with some pieces on it. It is a satrap in the suit is Egyptian blue, and it is weirdly lumpy. So it has a lumpy, I wouldn't say protrusions, but places. The whole suit doesn't look, straight and slick. And he sits in front of the board game and seems to ponder their move.
I will look on the board in interest.
Do you think it's a game that you know?
How old a game is it?
It is an ancient board game.
I probably know it or variants of it.
Mm-hmm.
Anything admitted within the last few centuries is very unlikely that I know it.
Mm-hmm. And so you can also analyze the position of the pieces and see that that it's the other person's, so his or their opponent's move, but there's nobody sitting there.
Is your opponent away? Good Lord.
I'm more or less playing against myself, but please sit down.
Thank you. May I?
Oh, of course, please.
And I make a move. It is a variant that an ancestor. I saw an ancestor make. Strange and trappy line.
And we see the game progressing, and while you are playing, there's not really like a conversation. It's more like they would say, "I'm satrap 226." They would comment on your move. And you can ask them questions, obviously.
Yes, I would say yes. I am Kozoe from the near moon. I have been having dreams of the apocalypse in which certain sigils appear. And I know these to correspond to places, but I don't know where the places are or where they might be found.
The last satrap voyaged from the spire of heaven to the last thoughts of the bone god. On the way, it stopped at the lost Marmot folk city of Mirror. It arrived late and begged for a place to stay, safe from the great woes that plagued the land in those times. The Marmot folk matrons refused, and the land itself cursed the city of Mirror for denying the kind and angelic last. The air turned to salt in the lungs of the Marmot folk. They choked over their cruelty in the streets and halls of Mirror. Their personalities were burned into its glass walls and streets. Thus, the land created the city of bone ghosts. The end of the world is what will happen anyways. Why seek out signs?
To carve a pathway to the next world, of course.
And you see the light like flashing from the satrap, as if, you know, that like happiness. It's as if it's smiling. You will maybe find these signs. And Brandon, can you make your roll?
Yes. A roll to find clues?
Yes.
All right, so roll d20.
I think isn't it a percentile?
It is a
roll?
percentile, but I just transmitted to 220.
Oh yeah, of course.
But I missed.
Okay. So what they say is, you might not find signs here. But what you could, where you could find more about the end of the world, there is a congregation of ancient ghosts that haunt the Dead Bridge. And the Dead Bridge is to the west of here.
Why do they haunt it?
Well, somebody would say they haunt it. Some others would say they congregate there.
Let's see. Sounds like an interesting place. Thank you.
Thank you for playing. And I think the satrap falls for your trap and seems to be delighted to lose to somebody with like a devious plan.